Well, by my side, I have most of the books that I have poems in. I don't have one published book by a national publisher, but there are several of my poems in these books, and they are published by people like Methuen and Macmillan and so on. This is The Last Rabbit that I mentioned about by Jennifer Curry, and I wrote this about a boy in my class, and he used to come to school crumpled, asleep. And anyway, this is what I wrote about him, and apparently later on it was used at his wedding. He's a scrag of a lad with scrunched up face, sorry-eyed and sad, fetus-like, curled to his desk, he hibernates till a steel voice cuts through his defence. Yet he knows secrets of hedgehogs, wild birds and hidden creatures. It's then I want to place him on the palm of my hand and plant him in the meadow. And I said that was in a book called The Last Rabbit. The other one, also by the same compiler, Jennifer Curry. I may think these are out of print now, but there we are, it's proof of what I've done. And this was called Dove on the Roof, and it's a collection of poems about peace. She was worried at the time because it was the Falklands War and of children getting worried about it. And this one is one that I based on Malta when I was there, when I was 5 till 8, when I came back. And I've called it School Bus Journey, Malta 1946. You imagine I'm on the bus, I'm going to school, and here it is. They were part of the landscape, twisted heaps of metal in the parched fields by the roadside. Prickly pear cactus and white stone walls framed them. They flashed by the bus windows. Dakotas, it was explained, they crashed in the war. Sitting on the bus, she worried about division and multiplication and how to say the Lord's Prayer, yet was curious about the plains, wrecks, gutted and pillaged, mementos of a war she knew nothing about, over only a year before. So that one was true. And sometimes you can buy, in Malta still, you can buy the casings, you know, the brass casings of which they sell for souvenirs. And this is another one that is an amalgamation of several ideas, and it's in a teacher's resource book by Nelson. And I called it Cowslips, but when it was first published, Wes McGee said, can we call it Grandma? Well, if you want something published, you agree, don't you? So here it's called Grandma, and it's a memory of cowslips when I was a little girl. It was when my sister was being born in 1944. I think the weather was really, really bad that year because it was it not Dunkirk, D-Day, wasn't it? And I remember cowslips and flags, Irish flags. I think they must have been late. And to me they seemed very tall because after all I was very little. And then later on in the year when I wrote this poem, there were cowslips growing on the banks near Dunmow. And the reason why is because they don't put insecticide on the banks anymore. So the two memories came together. And so I wrote it as if I was an older lady. And I was much younger then, of course. I'm an older lady now. I remember when I could sun fill my face with fields of cowslips, her eyes glazed as she remembered her girlhood. And I longed to butter her chin with the wild flowers of her youth. Later that year, we took her to hidden depths in the country and by the roadside, full creamed and flourishing, the cowslips bunched on untouched banks. "See, see," she cried, "that's just how it used to be." Yeah, but they grow in sort of damp areas. So there's a lovely field near, on the way to Stansted, on the right, there's one there. And there used to be a lovely field of them in Bedfordshire when we went home. We used to know where that was. So, yeah.
So they're coming back naturally?
Yeah.
Who stopped them spraying and being
Well, I think
killed?
with all this awareness of...
putting it into the watercourses and that.
Yeah, and the fact that we should be careful with our countryside and ecology and all the rest
You
of it.
can't pick flowers, but it's okay if you pesticide them away. It's ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what they did, didn't they? But now, if you go on some of the highways and that, and especially at that time of the year, you'll see banks of them, you know, which is lovely. I just love cowslips because it's one of my earliest memories. But I still can't find out what the weather was like that time in 1944. I know the weather was very, very bad. And Mum said she was expecting Ginny and she thought, oh, I'll have her in pretty frocks and have her looking pretty in the pram. And it was so cold. And she had to dress her up and it was cold. And I'm just wondering if the weather was so cold that that's why the cowslips were delayed and the flags. So, but that is one of my earliest memories. I would have been about when I was 3 years, 9 months actually. So, and I was living in a little cottage in Bedfordshire while Mum was in hospital. So, yeah.
Memories.
Yeah. I mean...
Anything else there at all? Any other favourite?
Yeah, Mango Pool.
Go on.
That's this one.
Mm-hmm.
It shows a little girl, this picture of a girl diving into a pool. Now, I didn't say if it was a girl, and I didn't say what sort of dive. But when I was learning how to life save, you learned how to do a duck dive, you know, in the water. And then you duck in and let the weight of you get down so you get the old rubber brick. Not very interesting, was it, a rubber brick? But anyway, I was in Jamaica in the first hotel that we were in, a little guest house. And it had a small pool, and there was a mango tree, and this mango dropped into the pool. Oh, I'm going to get that. Let's swim in it. And I get this, I've got an infection, a sinus infection, and I cannot get down because of the pressure. So I used that idea for this poem, and then it was used, and it's one of these great big right? So, there is a pool in my garden. Beside it grows a mango tree, tall, tall, with glossy leaves, hard to climb. Juicy mangoes dangle, ripe and firm. I wait for them to fall. Glug, 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 glug. Then I dive deep and life save them for me. So that's that one. I do remember that one, the same as the gecko one I remember. I tell you something, when I first wrote The Street, we played with dustbin lids and sticks. With pistols we attacked the Indians of the next road. And I wrote that in 1989. And people published it. And then somebody said to me much later, can't write that. And I went, Of course you can't write it, because I was talking about cowboys and Indians. And of course, I wasn't talking about present day, our culture today. So I had to change it, and I did. So, but of course it was already published, but since it's been published, I've changed it. So, I did a little one about space food. That was on the radio, BBC Radio. It's a tiny one. And I got that one, I think I got that one when I went to the Smithsonian in America. And we saw all the space things. And where is it? 79. And we realised that it's difficult to eat in space. So this is called space food. Poor old spacemen, when they want to eat, have to squeeze a toothpaste tube full of veg and meat. That one. And the other one in here is called, oh no, that's the one about the cowslips, that's Grandma. Oh, that is the Caribbean one. That's the Spaceman one. What have I got in here? I think this is one this is one about a bazaar, I think it is. A tapestry of sounds. 15. And that one is on a big poster, and it's for geography, and it's by Scholastic. The market is alive with the hubbub of buying and selling. A tapestry of sounds. Come, come, look, buy. Veiled women in dark robes swish past stalls of pomegranates, potatoes, sugarcane and spices. Donkeys pull laden carts, clattering over cobbles, while claxons bear. Above the cobbler's tap, tap, tapping, and the whir, whir of the tailor's sewing machines. Waiting camels spit, caged canaries sing. Tourists haggle, and a beggar rattles his tin. I saw a boy trying to get conkers from a tree. And the position he was in, he was actually doing an arabesque. He was in a tracksuit. But I thought, yeah, boys do ballet, but they don't realise it, when they're doing it. And when I mentioned this to John Foster, who does a lot of books for children, he said, oh, arabesque, that's rather a difficult word, isn't it? And I said, yeah, but if you don't put difficult words in, how are they going to learn them? So I took it out, and this was actually published in the works by Paul Cookson. And the boy leapt toward the branches of the chestnut tree, grasped the tempting treasure, split the spiky shell, and marvelled at the glowing nut. This one's a winner, he chortled, hoarding it into his pocket. I read that to my daughter, and she said, oh Mum, she said, chortle's a rather old-fashioned word. I said, it's a word made up by Lewis Carroll. I said, it was, yeah. And it just explains exactly what, so I don't care whether it's an old-fashioned word, it's going in. And to prove it, they've chosen it. Now in Jamaica, it's hot, it's humid, it's dusty. There's palm trees, and it's hot, and it's dusty, and it's tiring, and you wait for the rain. Now I taught in Jamaica. The schools had open windows with slats and burglar bars. when it was hot, you needed those windows open, but the playing field became a dust bowl and the wind used to blow all the grit through. It used to be all over your face. So, no air conditioning, and it was hot. No air conditioning at all. Okay, no air conditioning at all.
Did you have any fans?
No. And around the school there were good houses, wealthy houses, but also shacks. So there was always an itinerant child around. Once I left my purse in my class when I went down to the hall. When I got back it was taken. My fault. Because there's some great poverty there. So there we are, it's so hot and you get home and you can't use the shower because there's no water. They call it locking the water off. Lock off. So you wait, you see the clouds and you think it's going to rain and it doesn't, and it doesn't, and it doesn't. And this is called rain. It's been published several times, this one. Even in grown-up books, this one. She licked the film of dust from her top lip, moved her arm across the gritty desk. Children listlessly worked. Slatted shutters filtered the intense light. Outside, the wind swirled on the parched playing field, now a dust bowl, flanked by dry grass. The bell rang, and sweaty bodies ambled from the stifling room. Exhausted, she longed for a cool drink and shower. As she left school, the storm clouds clustered, unyielding their tantalising promise. Once home, Millie greeted her. "Oh, de water, it lock off, mum. Must wait till 6 o'clock." A pool of clothes lay in the silent washing machine. She slaked an ice cola from the fridge, then sank onto the bed and slept restlessly, awaking to strange sounds like falling tamarind pods hitting the galvanised roof, at first slow and intermittent, and then with deafening staccato. Through the shutters she saw gigantic drops soaking into the dusty earth, watched globules of water form small pools on the marbled veranda. Thunder followed lightning, and the rain ricocheted from the ground. She and Millie ran into the torrent, looked up and laughed. "Oh, the rain a come, mum, the rain a come." Thank you.
Brilliant.